Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cop Alcas podcast show. I'm your host, Poovan, and I'm back today with a very, very interesting episode for you guys, which I would like to discuss and would like to share with you guys. It is nothing else but Liverpool's current squad depth for this year's season as we are looking forward to all the domestic competitions that are upcoming and also our participation in the Europa League and how does our team squad depth look like for all these competitions, whether we are good enough to challenge the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal and Newcastle in terms of the domestic titles, and also how would our new system, which is being new play style and a new playing system being implemented by Jurgen Klopp, is it very effective for all the signings that he have gotten, and also to look at our past players who have left us and also those who have come in, and how would the new players would actually bring in some quality and some depth and some creativity and flair for our current squad right now. So 4 games have already passed by us. Currently Liverpool are in a good form. Yes, there have been hiccups here and there with the red cards being misused and the games against Bournemouth and also against Newcastle, but nevertheless we did stuck to our guns. Some of the signings and some of the players who have returned from injury and joined into pre-season and started for us in few of these games, and so far they have done well in these 4 games. Now currently the international break is on. Our football will be back on Saturday. We'll be going back to normal, so Liverpool will have about 7 games in 3 weeks up to this whole month of September. So Europa League is also upon us. Group stage games will be coming hard and fast during the midweek. So there will be a lot of Thursday nights, Friday nights where we will be watching football in the most unlikeliest of terms because Newcastle are now in the Champions League. So with that being said, I think the one big question that every Liverpool fan would be asking to themselves and among their peers as well, I think, is the current Liverpool squad good enough to beat the likes of Manchester City or every other European team or those teams which are in our domestic leagues as well to win trophies this season? So that is a very big question, and I feel that I can give a positive answer from my point of view. I feel that Liverpool have a chance, not a 50 or less than 50% chance. I think that Liverpool might have about 60 to about 70% chances of lifting any sort of trophy this season, because I feel that the squad depth has been renewed with the signings of 4 players, and Gravenberch, Endo, Szoboszlai, McAllister, and players like that who have joined our midfield ranks. Yes, we did have major departures happening, like our former captain Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, our vice captain James Milner, and Oxlade-Chamberlain. You have Naby Keita, and you also have Nathaniel Phillips, who's now currently on loan in Celtic at the moment, but it's just for the first half of the season. So with all these kind of departures happening, and also rumored departures as well, we did have a few rumors whereby Kelleher was looking for another club, a fresh start, maybe for regular playing time since he's a goalkeeper. So that has been put to bed now since the transfer window is shut down for now for the season, right? Since January, and you also had a few rumors going on about Mo Salah maybe being tempted by the Saudi Pro League to play football over there. So huge money bids came in for him. I think Liverpool done well on their part to reject any sort of bid and any sort of approach from the Saudi Pro League, any club, for instance, to come after Mo Salah. My personal, before I go into Liverpool's capacity of being able to lift the trophy, I think, in my opinion, Liverpool did well in trying to refrain from any sort of talks being happening on Mo Salah. I do personally feel that Mo Salah still has about, at least this season, after next season, maybe this and next season, so he has about 2 seasons to himself where he can play till he's still up to his peak level. I still feel that Mo Salah is still in his peak. He's in very good physical condition. Still a monster runner of the ball. He definitely can pressure players. never slows down one bit. So I understand there are a lot of skeptics out there, especially amongst our Liverpool fans, who feel that Mo Salah's time has come up at Liverpool and he was still here and he's not left. Those are the kind of skepticism which is valid to a certain extent, but then I do personally feel that Mo Salah still has a lot more to offer. He still wants to win trophies with us, which is a good motivational factor. And I feel that maybe years along the line, when he comes to the twilight of his career, when he decides to leave and go to Saudi or Qatar or any other club in any league across the world, we would give our thanks. We will hand in his flowers. You will say thank you for your service, and he is a legend of the club. But as of now, I do still feel that he has 2 years left in him, maybe plus minus 2 years left in him. He can still bang in goals. He can still provide us assists. He is one of the strong points of our club moving forward, even in our rebuild as well. As we look at into other options in replacing Mo Salah along the years to come, I feel that giving some time, he will definitely prove us wrong, as he's been doing for the past 5 to 6 years. So, Jurgen Klopp always says, turn doubters into believers, and Mo Salah still in this age, at the age of 30, at the age of 31, is still proving doubters wrong by providing stats which are absolutely mad. So I feel personally, for me, I'll put this topic debate for Mo Salah. I feel that he still has more to provide for us, and his services will be much, much needed under the thought. But now jumping back to the whole main topic, which is Liverpool's squad depth and are they capable of winning trophies this season? Yes, I do feel that. I positively feel that we have a capacity, we have the team, we have the players necessary to win trophies this season. I will come to the defense later on. I will go on to I will go on levels, then I would go down to how the defense looks and stuff like that. So we are looking frightened. Our capacity to win a trophy is there. It's always been there. It's been there since the season, since the 18-19 season, or even before that, even when he went against Real Madrid in the Champions League final. We were there. We were competing against Manchester City, even though we struggled a little bit. But I feel that there is a capacity for us to compete. And we have been competing. We have the capacity. We now have rebuilt our midfield into a very world-class looking midfield, which can go all out in bringing us silverware for the years to come. And, we have a lot of central midfielders right now that they have signed, which is very, very good. We have a lot of advanced central midfield options, which is, for example, McAllister. We have Szoboszlai. You also have on the bench, we also have among the ranks, we do have the likes of Curtis Jones. We have Harvey Elliott, who can still play multiple positions and not necessarily play in the central midfield positions only. And our front three, there's no doubt that our front three is really good. Yes, it did take a few years for us to gel in and come in together. Yes, COVID happened, and then we were going for the quadruple and stuff like that. So despite the fact all these kind of factors happened, with Bobby leaving, I forgot to mention, even Bobby leaving as well, Mane left. So despite the fact that quality players, experienced players leading us, and the legendary front three for Mo, Mane and Bobby, even despite the fact that the two of them leaving, I feel that, with the addition of Mo Salah, with the addition of Luis Diaz, Jota, and also signing Darwin Núñez, and also having fringe players like Harvey Elliott who can come in and help the team. Also additional player is also Cody Gakpo as well, who can play in the forward role. So that is very, very impressive. I think on paper we are very, very good. Yes, sometimes there would be certain question marks being asked, but then in my personal point of view, I think that our front three and also our depth of the front three is really, really good. And it's really impressive. They always provide. They always look for goals. They always look for creativity and passes and stuff like that. So with all that jumbled into one, I would not want to criticize a lot about the front three because they are really bad good. And they can compete with the likes of Manchester City and the Arsenal and the Newcastle, so on and so forth. So, not to forget, when it comes to defense as well, especially at the back, our goalkeeper, we have the best goalkeeper in Alisson. So there's still nothing much to worry about as well. And our midfield and that now, like I want to add on previously to what I said, is super stacked. Now I can look at the team and say, we have a complete midfield team. We have a complete set of players who can play midfield and who can play in various positions. And I can look at the attack and I say, you put them anywhere on the front team, and all three of them can, any one of them can, produce results. That's the main thing. And you're super stacked. Just that one thing I would like to say is that our defense, when it comes to our defense, yes, there is a lack. There is a slight lacking in that. Previously, even when the season when we won the title itself, our defense, even though it was not super stacked, we didn't have marquee signings, but we did have the likes of the Van Dijk, we had Joe Gomez, we had Joel Matip in their prime, who were absolutely busting their ass and playing for the club and bringing the title back to us after 30 years. And that, you had the likes of Trent, you had the likes of Robertson, and at that point in time, you had like Nico Williams, you had Dejan Lovren, and these kind of players were there. So even though they were fringe players, but they were very, very experienced players. But now, coming to the back end of that season and looking forward 2-3 years down the line, now it's a little bit lacking. I feel that there is not a lot of experience coming out from the bench for the defense. Yes, you have the likes of Van Dijk, you have Panathinaikos, who came in 2 seasons ago. So he was considered a marquee signing for us, but then just from the defensive end and not on the whole club level. But he is a very, very good signing as well. But why I say the defense is lacking is just because of injuries. We have never had good luck with injury. The only proper season where we barely had a lot of injuries, I think, is the season where we fought for a quadruple, and also for the season where we won the Champions League and the Premier League. So, barring those seasons, I think last season was very, very horrendous. We didn't really play well. We looked lethargic. We looked very tired, especially the defense. Van Dijk wasn't himself. Trent wasn't himself. Even Matip has on and off injuries. Joe Gomez had on and off injuries. So it was very, very frustrating to see. So I understand skepticism for fans on that end, in the defensive end, when they look at that and go, we have on board loads of midfielders, but then we still yet to, sign a very good defensive player, or like a centre back or a left back, or maybe a cover for friend at right back to deputize. With that being said, I will come into the squad depth. I will show you guys on the full list of players and each of them in their specific positions and how can we interchange players according to position wise. We will go into that. I'll just try to finish up in terms of defensively. Yes, we are lacking few important, not to say important, but then good players, players who are not really very injury prone, and also the experience. The experience factor is very, very important. So there are still young players in here who need to step up, but then there should be a solid, solid top level defensive players who rarely get injured and can come up when called upon and stuff like that. So, for example, like Manchester City, with them signing Josko Gvardiol, who is someone who we targeted as well. We could have gone for him, but then like I said in the beginning itself, we did have a lot of mess up in the transfer activity so far in this summer. So that one didn't really help us. So, and also for the fact even Spurs of all teams, they signed Nicky van der Ven, who we were targeting for quite some time as well. So that one didn't happen as well. So a lot of things that Liverpool need to really look into defensively, but then in the midfield and in the attack, we can't really argue too much because it's already completely stacked. But then defensively, it's a worry. So that's the only thing. So now, with that being said, I will jump into my laptop and I will show you guys what our squad depth look like. So guys, now coming back and let's look at our squad depth for this season. So there you go, guys. I've shared my screen. I hope that all of you can have a look. So this is our current squad depth for the current season. So like I said, I will start it from the goalkeeping position all the way down to forward. So in Alisson's position, it's already cemented there. He the number one goalkeeper, the best goalkeeper in the world. He takes the position, and below him as the understudy, I think it's rightly so, it's going to be Kelleher. Like I said, a year ago, he was looking for another club just for a regular playing time, not for a loan, but maybe for full transfer. But it apparently didn't happen. Jurgen Klopp was keen to keep him as an understudy to Alisson, which is a good thing because Kelleher does have the skills and attribute to be a really, really good goalkeeper for us in the near future. And also we have the likes of Adrian also over there as, not to say as an understudy, but more of a coaching role for all the other academy goalkeepers for coming on and also for Kelleher as well. So he's also more of like a stopgap solution if we were running out of goalkeepers due to injuries or suspensions or whatnot. So it's a good decision as well. So now I will go down to the defensive side. I think it's pretty much cemented over there. These are the top 4 players we would expect to start forward in every game. It will be Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, and Robertson. And I will start off with Trent and looking at his understudy. So for the understudy of Trent, previously it was Nico Williams. I felt that Nico Williams we should have kept Nico Williams in the team a few seasons ago. I think it didn't really happen. He was doing for first team football. Conor Bradley actually in the pre-season this season, in this year's pre-season, very well. So he was very, very good. He did show a lot of attacking intent to move forward, playing forward passes, trying to overlap between the wingers, trying to get crosses in, more of like around the mold of Trent. But then I feel that defensively is also a little bit, he's sound, he's good. Not bad at all, but I feel that as an understudy, he has time on his hands. He can develop the skill set, particularly defensively and also offensively, where he can also help in terms of the overlapping play and coming in and getting passes in, playing the long ball. Mainly more towards getting passes in and stopping the defenders and stopping the attackers, and playing a more defensive, a more balanced approach towards the right back role. So Bradley is there. Gomez, why I put Gomez over there and also on the centre back position, because yes, Gomez is right-footed, so he has a few times deputized for Trent at the right back position, so it's fair to put him over there. He does come in there sometimes in order to cover for Trent if at all Trent is injured or suspended, or any sort of situation like that. But now, as per the team news, I do know, all of us do know that Trent is injured. He wasn't included in the Indian national team as well for the friendly. Apparently, it was an hamstring injury. If I'm not mistaken, it was a hamstring or an ankle injury that he sustained during our last outing against Aston Villa. So he did hobble out. Hopefully, he can make a quick recovery and come back for us on the weekend. But I do think that it would be unlikely. I don't think Jurgen Klopp will make that take a risk on a player like Trent. I think it will allow him to rehabilitate, recover properly, and then join back the team. So for the time being, I think for the next league match or the next match day that we have, it would ideally be Gomez at right back, and then you would have the other players. So for the next one, Konate, yes, would be our first choice centre back, and then you would have Marty to deputizing. The reason why I took Marty as the deputizing as the second choice, like not deputizing, but more with the second choice, is reason is not because of the experience, but then it's just because of the age factor. And I do feel that Konate is younger and faster and a little bit more durable compared to Joel Matip. So I think that makes a lot of sense as to why Matip is second choice right now. Now we move on to Van Dijk. So in Van Dijk's position, yes, like I said previously, Gomez, he can play on the right and he can play at centre back. And then we have a new centre back option, which is Gerald Konsa, who actually made his entering debut and also made his debut against Newcastle. Yes, he plays well. He's really tall, good physically built, but he's very, very young. And he's a very, very raw talent of the centre back. So it takes time for him to get into the system, understand the playing, the tactics and all that and whatnot, how to lead from the back. So it will take some time, but then he was not so bad again in the 2 games that he featured as a substitute. So, well played to him. Hopefully he does well. And then on the Robertson side, we have Robertson has the first choice left back, and on the second choice, you have Costa Shimikas, which I would like to update as well, who is soon to be signing a new deal for the. So when we are going into the midfield, so we are looking at this absolutely stacked up midfield right now that we have. So on the number 6 position, which is absolutely crucial for our team, we have the likes of Endo, who can be the first choice CDM for us, the first choice number 6 for us. But then I've also put in Alexis McAllister, for the last 4 games has already played in that particular position as the deep flying midfielder. And you have the young player that we all love to see him play last season, which was Stefan Bajcetic. So he has already come back from injury, so he'll be featuring on the bench most probably. But a very, very stacked midfield option as well. Maybe when you look at the last 4 games and the game against Newcastle as well, which Endo started, I would like to talk about Endo. So Endo's performance against Newcastle was good. Was not that bad, but it was a very, very dull performance. I think there were instances where he felt that I want to play it safe. I don't want to make too many mistakes. I don't want to be too rash. And I think the red card against Van Dijk, which happened in the Newcastle game, I think more or less, didn't really motivate the purpose for Endo to actually go all out and play very, very defensively and always being aggressive on the ball. I think that the reason maybe being because of the red card, maybe it threw him off a little bit, threw him off his game a little bit, but he had a very, very quiet performance. And then against Aston Villa as well, he came on as a substitute. Never really did much because we were already leading 3-0, but then wasn't really very impactful in the game. But that was maybe due to the whole, the whole scoreline and that particular match against Aston Villa. So I'm not going to criticize Endo. Fair-play to him. He did come in a bit late. Liverpool added in, Liverpool signed in and added in to the squad on a very late transfer period. But it's okay. All is good. We definitely need the signing. We definitely need the player, and the player of the caliber of Endo as well, who was the captain of Stuttgart and also captain of Japan. So these are the kind of experienced players that we would need. But Endo, like I said previously, he's more of like a late bloomer. It takes time. It takes time for him to adapt to the new system, to the culture, to the footballing culture that is in England, and it's totally different compared to in Germany as well. So even the weather, and he also has to get used to the play style of and the intensity in the Premier League. So there's a lot of things that factors that you need to see before we start judging Endo straight away and more 4 games in. So he will come back. He will come into fruition, but it will take some time. He may not be a regular starter, but I put him here as a starter because I might expect him to start a few games, more being a defensive midfielder that he is. So definitely I don't expect Endo to also play center back. And why I said previously that Endo can play in multiple defensive positions and he can play in the midfield as well, but don't really expect him to play in that kind of position like that, because I feel that his play style and his technical ability is more suited in the midfield. So hopefully we can see more of Endo in the coming days and weeks or months. So hopefully he can get up to speed with the intensity. And the next advanced midfield positions, we have the likes of McAllister, who has uh, who has the mainstay in our midfield position. I think you wouldn't go any other way to saying other players are more suited to playing it as the first choice midfield option in the advanced midfield role. But could be doing McAllister is here and he's just here to stay. I think in the last 4 games you can see how good he is, how technically, physically, how good he is on the ball, his control, his passing. And I think all of those kind of attributes are the ones going to make him cement his position in that advanced midfield role. So for McAllister, the second choice players would be Curtis Jones and Thiago. So like I said, guys, despite having the likes of McAllister, like previously I said earlier, it's Anderson, you have Gallagher, you have Adrian. So sure, you have McAllister, Jones, and Thiago. So another thing I would like to add is I feel very happy that Thiago is still in the team, despite him having all those injuries and stuff like that. But for a club like Liverpool to have a player and the stature of who has achieved a lot, a player like Thiago Alcantara, does say a lot. It does say a lot about Jurgen Klopp trying to keep the culture, trying to maintain that mentor. Senior players trying to be the mentor towards the younger players, even though they don't have the opportunity to play often. I do expect Thiago to play constantly, but not constantly on every single game because our midfield is so stacked. But then when I do feel that Thiago would be needed on the most important minutes, especially when there are certain suspensions or unknown injuries which are happening, for example, to McAllister, also was right, or Endo for that matter. I do feel that Klopp would, alternate between the 4-3-3 and maybe the 4-2-3-1, where he can also help to play together, partner alongside Endo as well. So there are multi-functional positions where Thiago can play in the midfield as well. So it's a good option to have Thiago amongst our midfield ranks. It's such a plus point for us, because if you were to lose either one of these new players that we have signed, you have nothing to worry about when you have Thiago already, recovered, ready to go, who already knows how Jurgen Klopp plays to come in and make an impact. So he can be that impact player, but he will most probably come off the bench for offering more than we would expect this season. So for McAllister's position is there, then we'll jump over to Soboslai's ranks. For Soboslai, I would definitely put him as the mainstay as well, as the one who's going to be the regular starter for us in this advanced midfield position. So deputizing, being the second choice, would be Harvey Elliott and Gravenberch. So I know some of you guys would think, why the heck did we find a player who has only played like 20, 30 minutes in the Bundesliga for Bayern Munich? Don't judge a book by its covers. That I think those who have watched the horrendous season that we have had after we won the Premier League, I think you should go and watch how Gravenberch has played against us when he was at Ajax. He is that good of a player. The reason why I compare Gravenberch to Wijnaldum is because it's very like-for-like. It's just that we weren't able to sign him at that season because, yes, Bayern Munich in the Champions League and yada, yada, yada. They wanted to sign him in Bayern Munich, felt that it was very, very good. And then they had been a Nagelsmann coming in and stuff like that. And they had a lot of changes in the managerial position as well. So I think those factors are the one stopped Gravenberch from progressing in the Bayern Munich spot. So I think Liverpool at this point, Jurgen Klopp thought that, he is there. He is more of like a Gini Wijnaldum player that we want. And he's not only a straightforward centre midfield player. He can play the centre midfield position. He can play the defensive midfield position as well. So I think in this whole season, we can see a lot of players playing in multifunctional roles. especially even Trent as well. You see Trent playing in the right back now. He's playing as the inverted right back. He's playing more of a midfield position. You can see the back four turning into a back three, and you can see the midfield three being a box midfield of 4 players. So these kind of 4 multifunctional positions, I think, calls for players who have the ability like Ryan Gravenberch. So, like I said, guys, go and have a look at how Gravenberch played against us when he was playing for Ajax. He's that good of a player. His technical review skills are really good. And you should go and watch some of the games that he plays for the under-21 Dutch team, or in the Dutch national team, the senior team as well. You should go and watch. I mean, for those who are still skeptical about Gravenberch, I mean, at least for once, just go to YouTube and have a look at how the heck this guy plays. Because he's really that good. It's just that he needs time, and he also needs to understand the system. And, Jurgen Klopp is a kind of the coach who is who is the players' coach. He coaches the players. He doesn't coach the whole team. He makes sure that he brings the best out of each and every player. So I think that Liverpool is the right destination for Gravenberch. And I was hoping for Gravenberch in the beginning of the transfer window itself. It's just that we had a mixed up transfer committee who opted more on Caicedo and Lavia and stuff like that. Whereas you have a player who is like Gravenberch, who's just sitting there and he's saying, I will still fight for my place for him, Bayern Munich and stuff like that. But it's very easy to go him and bring it here. Well, finally, he could have done it. He's a very, very good player. It would take some time for him to be integrated into the squad. He wasn't able to feature for us as a substitute as well against Aston Villa. There's no problem at all. But in terms of, the whole system and stuff like that, if he can be a very good deputizing center midfielder for Szoboszlai as well. So he does have the technical ability. He can play progressive passes. He can take on players. He can play forward passes. So those are the attributes that he has as well. And on the defensive end, he also has the abilities as well in terms of tackling, in terms of aerial goals, player take-ons and stuff like that. So very, very interesting signing. Definitely hoping for him to be a regular starter for us, but would be highly unlikely. You can see him featuring in a lot of games, but then maybe on a substitute role, or maybe there would be rotational basis times where Jurgen would decide to rotate the team, bring in maybe the Gravenberch into a team who is playing against smaller teams in the FA Cup or in the Carling Cup, in the Carabao Cup. So those are the kind of situations that whereby Gravenberch has to come to terms with. So it's a learning curve for him. It's a new curve. Liverpool is a new team. Premier League is a different intensity. So it's very, very interesting to see what happens. So for that, we will go into the forward line. Like I said, we have a stacked forward line, guys. So for Mo Salah, definitely a starter, no doubt about that. The player deputizing the end will be Ben Doak. I think those of you who have watched the preseason this year, I think should know the kind of player Ben Doak is really, really good. He's really, really fast. This Energizer Bunny who never stops running. He's a very, very quick player, but it will take time for him. He's very, very young. So, you have that young blood which is very, very hot. You want to do everything faster. So, technically, he needs to sharpen his skills a bit more. But he is a good option off the bench if and when necessary. And also, when you look at the false nine or maybe in the forward position, as a striker, you have Cody Gakpo, you have Nunes, and you have Jota. So, these 3 guys, I would never say Nunes is a second choice. I would never say Jota is a second choice. I would never say Gakpo is a second choice either. But it's good to know that these 3 players, they can always rotate between themselves. And Jurgen has that capacity to rotate between them and playing them in different positions. There were also instances where we saw Cody Gakpo being played in the centre midfield position as well, when McAllister got the red card. So, like I said previously, the multi-functional roles, these are something which Jurgen is absolutely looking to capitalize on. So, having that kind of quality and quality of player and the experience, I think is now he's trying to bring a new approach to the Liverpool team. So that is very, very positive as well. So moving on, we can see for Luis Diaz, in this second choice, we can see Jota as well, and we can also see Kobe Gakpo. So like I said previously, guys, like I just said, players can play multi-functional. They are not necessarily have to be in that central position. But in my opinion, I do feel that players shouldn't be playing out of the position that they are meant to be, probably because there is, not to say the chemistry, but then maybe it's in their mind, it's in their body to be very, very adaptive, very receptive to the position that they are very used to, rather than being played on the right, on the left, or on the midfield as well. So having this kind of squad depth, as a result, it's very, very good, because you can play players in multiple positions. You can move in, kind of like more like playing that. You can move them in certain positions and different positions, trying to see whether it works. Yes, sometimes it does, and then sometimes it doesn't. So, very, very experimental, but then something which is very, very interesting for us to look at the current season. And, I would like to go back to like I think not once, I think players like in sixth position. I think I spoke most about them. So I think they are coming almost towards the end. So looking at the whole squad depth and looking at some of the players who are quite prone to injury, there are worries. Yes, I can guarantee you that. Sometimes it's always about luck. Sometimes it's always about luck at the end of the day, when it comes to injuries, and it's also dependent on how long are they cycling for and how long will it take for them to be integrated. So guys, with that being said, we have already come towards the end of our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope I had provided much knowledge in terms of how our squad depth looks like and how our players are going to be utilized by Jurgen Klopp in this season. Definitely looking forward to a lot of interesting stats that might pop up because of the types of players that they have signed. Also, a lot of interesting formations where our team would be playing and the way our team would be set up. Not necessarily having to be playing in the 4-3-3. You can play like a 4-4, 4-4-2, or you can play like 3-4-1-2. So those are kind of like a bunch of different things that Jurgen Klopp is using to experiment on. And needless to say, it's a very, very interesting season. Definitely we can challenge for titles this season. Premier League, not so much, maybe because City are the golden age of the Premier League. So they are kind of like the mainstay, and they have, these past few years, they have already dominated the Premier League, and definitely everyone would say high percentage is go to Manchester City to win the Premier League. But hopefully, just definitely hoping that Liverpool can just mount a challenge to them, try to fight for it, go all out. Let's see what happens, So with that being said, I come towards the end. Time for me to sign off. Thank you so much for listening. Do like, share, subscribe, smash on the like button. Do hit the subscribe button as well if you like my content. My content will be available on YouTube, Spotify. I will put some content on TikTok as well. Do head on over there. Do follow me as well. See you guys soon. I will come up with another episode as well where they're explaining about our upcoming match day as well. So with that being said, thank you. Signing out, your host Poovan, and see you in the next episode. Bye. Take care.